Welcome back to r/LegalAdvice, where people ask questions, get advice, and we get satisfaction. If you are new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community, and without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. And the first one is titled, California neighbor keeps inviting people to park in my gated driveway. What happens if I lock the gate and refuse to let neighbors' guests access their cars? I have a gated driveway I leave open during the day for a multitude of reasons. My neighbor keeps telling people they can park in my driveway even though there is ample street parking and he has his own driveway with extra spaces. I have asked him many times to not have his guests park on my property, but he just tells me I have lots of space, so he does not see what the problem is. The next time this happens, if I just lock my gate with his guests' cars in there and go on vacation for a few days or just flat out tell them they are not welcome onto my property, what would happen? Could I get into any legal trouble? And yes, I am aware calling to get the cars towed is an option, but I'm feeling really petty right now and want to make them wait a few hours or days to get their cars. And a user in the comments said, why not just post a sign that says, private property, no parking, all violators will be towed, and then have them towed. And another user suggested, and also laminate a sign under it saying, if you are visiting somewhere else, don't park here, you will be towed. You will likely only have to have 1 or 2 cars towed to get them to stop. And another user in the comments said, first off, the post sign stating no parking and that you will be towed if you do park there. Then if it happens again, remind the neighbor of this and the fact you will have them towed. This gives one neighbor one last chance and you told them it would happen. Happens again or they don't move cars, you call a tow company and that is that. And another user said, I understand how angry you are at your neighbor, however, his guests might assume that you are okay with them parking there because most people would not think that using their neighbor's property as a parking lot without permission is okay, so the neighbor's guests would assume their friend wouldn't do such a thing and you are okay with this. Posting signs and then towing, if you cannot lock the gate, would be the thing to do as others have said. And guys, I'm wondering, what would you have done in this situation? And also, have you ever gotten anyone towed? Let us know in the comments. And the next one is an update to the neighbor who keeps inviting people over to park in the neighbor's driveway story. I am glad to report the neighbor's guests parking in my driveway are no longer a problem. The reason I always left the gate open was because it was busted. The gate will slide close but will not open without extreme force, basically a bunch of people pulling and pushing at the same time. There was something preventing it from just rolling back open after being closed and I was too broke/mechanically challenged to get it fixed, so I had no idea what the problem was. A few nights ago, neighbor has a party and invited a bunch of people over. Last time this happened, neighbor had a bunch of people park in my driveway of course, and I guess some people got double parked in because some genius decided to solve this problem by parking in my driveway and closing my gate. Well, come time to leave, he realizes he cannot get the gate to open. He asks me for help, but I tell him 2 people ain't going to cut it. I'm injured anyways and that I'm going to call the police and report him for trespassing if he cannot open the gate and get his car off my property. He cannot open it and it is too late at night to call anyone, so I tell him I won't call the police if he promises to come back bright and early the next day with enough people to get the gate open again. He showed up the next day with a repairman who fixed my gate and paid the full cost himself. I now have a working gate that I can close, so douchebag neighbor cannot tell anyone to park here, or at least he still can, but duck him, my driveway is closed. And guys, here you can see OP's beautiful painting of the entire situation. And I cannot really say that LegalAdvice helped the OP much in solving the situation, but nevertheless I would say I'm happy for OP that the problem is more or less solved. And the next one is titled, Adjacent lot to my property is occupied by a drug addict squatter and her property taxes are past due. What can I do? I know it sounds dramatic, but we literally have a meth addict living in a dilapidated trailer adjacent to our beautiful 1-acre property and I want to buy her out. The previous owner was an upstanding citizen who fell ill and died shortly after we moved in, and he left the property to his live-in girlfriend. Within a year, the girlfriend died under suspicious circumstances and her drug-addicted daughter moved in immediately after. We were ignorant to this entire sequence of events until some neighbors filled us in. I dismissed it as gossip, but public record searches and a chance encounter with a close friend of the original owner confirmed this. Then last year we overheard a domestic dispute, one of many, in which the man accused the woman of murdering her mother for money. We called the police to prevent the shouting match from escalating, but they of course did not/could not do anything about the murder accusation. And then just this week they were screaming at each other again and he made the same accusation. I am fed up. This damn property, which hasn't had power for a year, is going to make it impossible to sell my home, and it is dragging down the value of the whole street. The weekly shouting matches and the constant worry of a drug-fueled break-in have driven me to the point that I am considering making an unsolicited offer on the property. Here is what I know: the trailer is on a 1-acre lot that has an appraised value of around $47,000. The property is still in the original owner's name, even though he died in 2016. An absolute pittance in property tax, like $47, was paid in 2016, but 2017 has not yet been paid. Aside from purchasing my first home back in 2015, I know next to nothing about real estate and the legal intricacies therein. But what I would like to do is hire a real estate agent and make this lady, or whoever the hell actually holds the deed, a cash offer on the property based on the assumption that a drughead wouldn't be able to turn down $40,000 in cash. Then I will clear the land, bulldoze the trailer and sell it to a developer. Woo, thanks for reading. So how dumb is my plan? Is the end goal even possible? Any advice at all would be appreciated. And a user in the comments wrote, so if you end up getting as far as actually making an offer, major lowball it, like really low, $5,000 to $10,000 low. If they are legit drug addicts, that is still a lot of money to go elsewhere. And another user agreed. The other advantage is that if this woman is super antagonistic, she might see the offer as an opportunity to squeeze you for more money. So if you start out super low, around $5,000 to $10,000, and let her chip away at you up to $20,000, then you are still getting the property at half the value. I would call the cops a couple times to soften them up and then drop the lowball once they are looking for solutions to their new cop problem. And another person said, it is a violation of the International Property Maintenance Code, which is adopted by many jurisdictions. Edit, also yes, call your city or county code enforcement agency and the tax assessor. They are a good route to help. If you do a private deal, make sure you put the money in escrow and it goes to them after they vacate. And another user said, I did a very similar thing here in Colorado. I had a drug house next to one of my rentals and my tenants moved out for this reason. I was not happy about that, so I made a personal visit and talked with code enforcement people that the drug house had no power, were stealing water from my tenants, had lots of police calls, trash in the yard, blah blah blah. Within 2 weeks they were at the property with a warrant and 5 officials cleaning up the outside of the property and sent the bill to the owner. The druggies moved out and the owner, a landlord, cleaned up the place. I took a big tray of Costco cookies and a flowery thank you letter to the code enforcement team and they couldn't believe it, no one had ever thanked them before. They are now helping to clean up the rest of the neighborhood without being asked. This couldn't have worked out any better in my case. And another user said, if they are really cooking this drug on the property, you definitely don't want to deal with the massive cleanup that will be necessary. I don't know details, but I do know it can be extremely expensive and too hazardous to do it yourself. I also have no idea how you would go about ascertaining whether the current occupants are cooking or just using, but I haven't seen any other commenters chime in about this possibility, so I want to give you this heads up. And by the way guys, is anyone else here a huge fan of the series Breaking Bad? Let me know in the comments. And by the way, speaking about good TV shows, a few months ago I've heard that Dexter will continue very soon, but actually since then I haven't heard any other news. But to be honest with you guys, Dexter is one of my absolute favorite TV shows of all time. And by the way, if you have watched until here and enjoy my YouTube show, then I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel and post some star emojis in the comments to show your support. Thank you so much in advance. Update to the drug addict story. My original post on this subject is now nearly 3 years in the making, but the property just sold at auction last week, so I thought I would share what I learned. The short version is we had some very trashy and disruptive neighbors squatting on the property next to our home, and we discovered their property taxes had not been paid since the original owner died in 2016. So after a few months of research, a 4-hour online class on tax deed auctions and a $200 title search, we learned that the rights to the property could be purchased in an online auction run by the county tax office. You have to have your max bid in liquid cash ready to go if you win the auction, but there are certainly some bargains to be had. Anyway, after watching the auction calendar for over a year, the property finally appeared on the schedule and the auction took place last week. The property had an appraised value of around $45,000 and the bidding starts at the simply whatever is past due on the taxes, which is less than $3,000 in this place. The auction is run by a third-party company in partnership with every FL county, and it works almost exactly like eBay. Unfortunately, we are small timers and our max bid of $10,000 was immediately squashed. This $45,000 property ended up selling for $25,000 and the new owners showed up that very same day to start clearing the way for new development. So despite the anticlimactic finish, we learned a ton about tax auctions and will be fishing for more in the future once we have a bit more liquid cash to play with. Sorry for a long post, but I got a ton of requests for an update and I figured this might be of use to at least one other person out there. Thanks for reading. And the last one is a bit of a weird story and it is titled, "If a traffic sign hits your car, can you sue the city?" This Sunday, February 28th, 2016, I was northbound on I-90 in Chicago and a sign fell over and was hanging over the highway and hitting cars. Mine was one. I did not even see the sign as it came right at about eye level like a knife. I happened to have a dash cam running, see the screen caps here from the video. And here guys, in this screenshot from the video, you can already see the sign on the left side from a distance. And here you can see it from a very close position because the OP had the dash cam running. Anyway, the white truck probably also got nailed as it had pulled over right past the sign. I took it to an auto repair place and the cost to repair is $900, just under my deductible $1,000. So a few questions. Is this even worth suing the city of Chicago over? I preserved the COE by removing the SD card and still have the original footage. Is there a place to file a report that would help others whose cars might have been damaged? Edit, not from Illinois, but from a neighboring state. Edit number 2, I called the city clerk's office as their domain has been hijacked. They told me to contact the IDOT. Edit number 3, thanks for the advice folks. For Interstate 90, you submit a claim with IDOT. The process is that you leave a voice message for them to send you a paper form in the mail. What year is it? And a user in the comments said, you can sue whoever is in charge of maintaining that road. It may be the city, but I don't want to just assume. Look to the Department of Transportation or Chicago equivalent. And another person said, I-90 will be a state-maintained road, so the city probably has nothing to do with it. Most states have a court of claims for damage such as this, but there may be limitations. In my state, there has to be a highway employee at the site before the state is liable, and or the state has to have had notice of the road defect. Also, was the sign hitting cars or were the cars hitting the signs? Update to the traffic sign story. Thank you for the great advice offered when I posted to LegalAdvice. I took that advice and was successful. I have an update. Warning, this is going to be a very long, a year of bullcrap denials, and skip to the end for the too long didn't read. First, the accident tore a hole through the roof and nicked the windshield. Repairs were about $1,000. Insurance deductible was $1K. I caught the incident on a dashcam that records speed, GPS time and GPS position. I contacted the IDOT with their form. IDOT referred me to ISTHA. ISTHA identified the location as under the control of company. We will call them JCO. JCO sends a letter saying that it was not in their area and it was in company KCO's area. I call KCO, they say nope. I get a call back from the local director of JCO, let's call him POS, says it wasn't them and that someone else also had property damage, that KCO is handling the issues and KCO is the company to contact, not them. I send a letter to ISTHA and include a map that identifies time and GPS LAT/LON location along with the note about the phone call. ISTHA sent a letter back to JCO which states no, it is JCO's area and handle this with the injured party directly and CC risk management with the details. 6 months go by, nothing. I follow up with a letter and a screenshot of the dashcam video with a mile marker visible asking for a response. JCO says,
"Winds were 41 miles per hour that day, not our responsibility."
I follow back with a letter showing that the raw data from NWS stored by NOAA says their claim is without merit. No response, so now I am getting worried about the statute of limitations as we are getting close to 1 year away from the event. I called ISTHA and say what's up. They cannot offer advice. I forgot exactly how I asked, but it came up that engineering might want to be CC'd on my next letter as they decide who gets the bids. I start looking around for lawyers and it turns out that I have to file in Illinois. There are some great resources for lawyers in Illinois, but when the lawyers hear it is for $1,000 in damages, they all say no. That in good conscience they cannot take a case that will cost much more in their time costs than I would get back in damages. Fine, I will do it myself. So I look at the Illinois Small Claims Court. It allows for electronic filing. I know you can lose with incorrect details on the filing, but the state of Illinois provides numbers you can call for people representing themselves in small claims court. I call and find out you have to file in the district court in which the accident occurred. You can ask for court fees when you file. Don't put anything much on the complaint other than the accident occurred at X location at Y time. This is in this district in which I am filing. Defendant refuses to pay. Therefore, I am filing for damages and court fees and related fees. The classification you have to put down when filing. You can file online and the date of submission is the date when you press submit. I call JCO and the conversation with POS goes like this. Me, I want to avoid a lawsuit, but I need you to pay for damages and a statute of limitations is coming up. POS,
4 other people had this issue. One was a woman who said a tractor trailer hit the sign.
Me, what is her name? POS,
don't know, but she said she sued the trucking company for $4,000.
Me, what is the name of the trucking company? POS,
don't know, but you should be suing them, not us.
Me, how did a truck hit the sign? The sign was behind a concrete barrier.
Yeah, the truck hit the barrier, bounced off it, and damaged the barrier and sign.
Me, the dashcam video shows no such evidence. The barriers are all fine and there aren't even skid marks up them. I might have to take you to court. And POS said,
see you in court. Was not even our sign. The sign is from a subcontractor.
Me, what is their number? POS gives number. So I call the sign subcontractor, dead end. I file the lawsuit against JCO, ask for damages and costs to file the lawsuit. Choose just regular certified mail. A month or two later and I get a letter from their corporate office. This supposedly local company was actually a subdivision of a much larger company, possibly international, asking to settle and not bring any future claims about this matter in exchange for 100% of what I asked for. And I agreed. So I call the small claims court and ask about cancelling the lawsuit, and the legal advocates there insist, until the check clears, don't cancel the lawsuit. Okay, I get it, but what is the process? Until the check clears, don't cancel the lawsuit. People get caught by this all the time. Okay, I really do understand, but what is the process? Cannot do it, have to go to trial, but you can tell the judge at that time that you ask for dismissal. Check clears a few days before the trial. I call the court and they say that I have to show up, but if nobody shows up the case is dismissed and that this is very common. I say it would be a long drive and inconvenient for me to get there, and I ask if I can just fax in my request to dismiss the case with settlement details. They say yes, make it attorney, the person I'm talking to and the judge. I send the fax, I call Jaco to let POS know I'm asking the case to be dismissed, he's no longer with the company. PS, having public resources like GPS, the court system, NOAA is awesome. I couldn't have stood up to a massive company like this without either spending a boatload of money on lawyer fees or having taxpayer-paid infrastructure like judicial advocates, freely accessible NOAA data, and a legal system that puts individual claimants on an equal basis with any dishonest company. People may complain about paying taxes, but a well-run government is an indispensable tool for us regular citizens. PPS, always have a dashcam that records GPS date, time and location. An $80 investment saved me $1,000. The one I have is not sold anymore and is not as good as newer ones, so I am not identifying it. And guys, unfortunately we have already reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories, and if you haven't already, please also go to patreon.com/ripeyoutube, where I upload exclusive Reddit videos starting at just $3 a month. This is a great way to support me in case you are interested, and the chance for me to become independent from YouTube revenue. Thank you so much for watching, please don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.